Hello and welcome back. This is Sherry with Heart and Soulful back in the studio with another stencil video. I keep thinking I'm almost finished and then I start playing around, and I'm really excited about this one because I am always harping about how I am not the best at freehand drawing, and I am not. I'm trying to learn and practice, but it's very slow going. So today I wanted to share with you how I have figured out how I can make a variety of different, I'm going to call them drawing assist stencils to help me in my artwork. I figured if I do it once in Procreate, then I will have it in different forms that I can use over and over again. So I'm really excited to share this one. It's probably going to be a very long video because there are multiple steps. I want to kind of show you my progression as I was kind of figuring this out. So if you're brand new to my channel, I want to say welcome. If you enjoy this video, please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment down below. This is really far into a second series I am doing on stencil making, so I will put links down below for the playlist for the first one, which is Stencil Making 101. I would start there if you haven't done this before. And the second series that I'm on currently is Stencil Making 2.0, which is using other software besides my Cricut Design Space. I started out in 101 where I even talked about just doing hand cut stencils and that sort of thing. But now I've kind of evolved into using other types of software to design the stencils and then sending them over to my Cricut to cut them out. And so if you have any type of cutting machine, you can do these stencils. And I'm also hoping that even if you don't have a cutting machine, that you'll be inspired to kind of design some things and hand cut them out. So how I started all of this was I wanted to maybe do some assisted drawing things with maybe like birds, butterflies, flowers, different things that I might want to start learning how to do. And so I started with some birds, and I started with just this hummingbird. And you can see it's kind of that, instead of being a stencil where the black lines are cut out, this is that reverse where what's left behind, it's almost like a mask of the lines of the stencil. So I started out with that, and then of course it left me with this silhouette, and I thought, it would be fun to do a whole sheet that has all the different, for the same bird or flower or butterfly, whatever it is, if I had all the different elements that I might need for art assist. So this is where it started with the hummingbird. And then I did one where I cut everything out, and that would be this one here, into separate pieces that I could utilize. And this one actually goes with this group. So this was my second progression. Let me get all the parts here so I don't get confused. This one goes with this one. Okay, so my second progression, and this is kind of an example of what I ended up with. I made the stencil that it has all of the lines. I haven't used this one yet. Same as the hummingbird, and I did it on a branch. So this would be kind of this idea where you get your outline of your drawing. This is done on a gel print, obviously. And that would utilize this type of stencil. So I did this one. And then I decided, originally when I made this one, I had the branch be a separate piece. So this is the only one where it's actually connected to the feet. And I could cut this away if I don't want to use them together. But this was just kind of experimenting. So I had done a stencil then of the same bird. So this is the opposite, where this one has left behind all the black lines that I drew with. This one has all those cut out, so it actually works like a stencil. So that's how I did this, using that just to draw those lines and the details. So I took that, and then I also I still then have the mask that's literally a mask that's cut out that you would use if you wanted to do a design around that and kind of protect the bird while you worked on the rest of your design. So there's a stencil for the branch and the bird, the mask for the bird, and then this sort of reverse, it's like, I don't know what to call these. It's kind of like a hybrid. So it's like a mask, but it's just a mask of the outlines. Okay, so I did all those, and I had, then I ended up with this part too, which is kind of nice if you want to just outline something or put a different, you know, cover this up and get kind of a different texture, use a different color or do something and kind of protect around it, then this is handy for that. So I had all these cut out pieces and I really like the size of it, but I decided, what if I try to put it all onto one sheet? How would that work? Would I be able to use it and create something using all those parts and pieces if they were still attached to one sheet? So this is my one sheet and this is kind of my playing around with it. So I took, to do something like this, this is the sort of mask of the outline part, and used that to create the black lines that are around. Okay, so started there, and then I was able to then, leaving that down, use this little opening, you know, to give my whole bird a different color, and then put some bubble wrap to give it a texture. And then I did the same thing with the tree branch. I used just the outline of the branch to kind of give my branch a black outline. It didn't come out very well in my print because I didn't get it all to pull up very well, but I was able to black outline the branch and then use this also, this one, to lay down, and then just put maybe a little green on the leaves, and then use this one to paint brown over the whole thing. So I was able to use this and kind of layer all my parts. I had a little extra space, so I put the word sing as a stencil on there. So I was able to kind of use all these parts. This was where this was cut out of, but otherwise all of these, and even this, are usable as drawing assist. So I just thought that was a super fun thing to do. You could do it with multiple different flowers or different butterflies. I just kind of did this one using the same bird, same branch, and the word sing. But I really like how I was able to, even though this is still kind of a practice thing, I think that they will be useful. So I want to show you how I did this. So we're going to start with some new tools on the Procreate that I haven't showed you, and then we'll also use some that I did. Okay, so here we are in Procreate. We're in our gallery because I wanted to kind of show you real quick what I did. This is with the bird one. So I created my designs on one canvas so that I can kind of see how many I can fit for one thing on a canvas. But then the other is because I needed to make sure that each of these elements were exactly the same size. So I needed to work from one to create the next one. But then putting them into my Cricut Maker, I wanted them each individual piece on its own canvas so that I'm dropping them in as shapes one at a time into Cricut Maker, and that way I can arrange them there if I want. I can put a square around it that's going to get cut out so that instead of having it all on one sheet, I can have it be on each element on its own little stencil. So that came in handy, and I can see benefits to doing it both, having one sheet print out or cut out and having the option of arranging things differently. So let's start. We're going to do a butterfly. I have done one butterfly just to practice, and I'm going to want to eventually when I cut them out, have maybe multiple on one sheet. So we're going to go here first. I want to show you, I went ahead and created a new canvas size, and I've gone through this quickly before, but if you click on the plus, that's where you can find your different default canvases. I've now created a couple more. So if you have not done that yet, you hit on the little plus there, and you can choose what increment you want it, whether pixels, inches, centimeters, or millimeters. So I'm working in inches. And then you would go over here, you can see the little blue cursors flashing. You can just type in whatever you want it to be. So let's see, I've got some more. I don't really have any that I need, but let's see, let's do a 12 by 9. And you can either type it in here or you can just write it with your pen and it turned it in there. And then it's going to tell you how many maximum layers you can do with that size, and it's 300 dpi. So you can also change the name. So if I click on that, it brings up my keyboard here. And so I'm just going to name this 12 by 9 create. So it's putting me into that new canvas, and that's not the size I want to work with. Here it is. I can get rid of that later. but I've also done one 8 1/4 by 10 1/2 because that's the size of the material that I'm using for my finished cuts, because I'm putting them into those sleeves. So I want it a little smaller than 8 1/2 by 11, and then it goes into my sheet protectors nice. So this is the size I'm going to work on today. So the first thing new that we're going to learn is how to maybe go grab a design so that you have it for reference. You can bring in, if you click on that little tool, you can add and you can insert a photo or insert a file. So if you already have something in your photos, or if you've downloaded a file, you can insert that way. There's another really fun way if you haven't found your inspiration yet. You have your canvas here, and then just kind of slowly pull up from the bottom, and your computer's, your iPad's bar comes up, and I have my Safari right here. I can actually drag that. You can drag it, or it's just showing up here on the side, and I can search for something here, and I can type it or I can write it. So let's do butterfly photos. Go. And it's going on the internet, and it's pulling up all these butterflies right here on the side of my iPad. So I can you can look on Pinterest, you can do whatever you want. So I'm going to just scroll through here. That one's really pretty. The monarch's nice, because we just want to use them for reference. You might want one that has its wings going a different way, just for fun. So let's grab something. Okay, we're going to pull that off. Okay, so when you bring something in, it's going to have this select tool already around it, which is going to allow you to change the angle, change the size. So I'm going to make this big just because it'll be easier to work on. And it's kind of pixelated and all of that, but it's okay. We're going to just use this for reference. So I've got it a size that I like. Maybe what I want to do to get it centered where I want it is to get my guides here, because I'm going to want to work with symmetry. So the first thing I want to do is I have my butterfly. So that is my first layer. I want to add another layer. That will be my second layer. And I'm going to go over here to Tool, and I'm going to go to Canvas, Drawing Guide, Edit Drawing Guides, and I'm going to do Symmetry. It defaults at vertical symmetry, and that's what I want. So I'm just going to call that done. But now you can see my butterfly is not exactly centered. So I need to go back to my layer that has my butterfly, and then I'm going to select my butterfly, and I can move it with my pen. The other thing you can do is, if I needed to adjust it incrementally, I can just tap wherever I want to move it. But because I'm so close to the edge, it doesn't really want to let me move side to side. So this is pretty good centered there. So just tap on that and it'll go away, and I still have my line. So I'm going to use this as my guide because it's a butterfly and I want it to be the same on both sides, and that'll make it twice as fast to draw also. So I'm still on my butterfly layer, and if you tap the N, it's like in Photoshop, all the different effects that you can give it. I want to just reduce the opacity a little bit. That way, as I'm drawing, tracing it, I can see my design, but I can also see my pen color, which is black. Okay, so I am out of that. And now I want to grab my pen. Now for the pencil that I'm going to use, I'm just using a technical pen. It's a pretty thin line, but it worked out well for what I want to do. So I have that. And then you can also adjust, you know, the stabilization if you want to have those. Remember we talked about if you want it to drag a little bit and give you a smoother line, you can increase that a little bit. So I'm just going to leave it set the way it is, and we'll click that off. So now I want to just really kind of trace this. I don't have to be real perfect about it, but I'm going to start with just the outline of the whole thing. And let's see, remember okay, this was a good example. I'm drawing on the wrong layer. You noticed how it didn't do my symmetry. So I'm going to go back. I need to be on the second layer. This first layer is just my butterfly. The second layer is the assisted drawing one where it's going to draw on both sides. So again, I want to be there. Okay, try this again. So you see it does the same thing. And again, I don't have to be perfect about it. I just kind of want to get my rough outline in there. And I can do this from either side as I'm going. I'm not going to draw the little legs. I don't need those. Okay, so that's roughly my outline. And I'm just going to show you real quick. You can turn that off and kind of see where you are if you want to do more than that right now. We're going to do more detail, but I want to really get the outside of my edge the way that I want it, and I'll show you why, and then we can go add the detail inside. So I'm still going to work on this second layer, turn that off, and I'm just going to kind of fine tune this. The other thing that I know that I need to do is, because I'm going to be making this both that cutout where the black lines are what I have left behind, and I'm going to do a stencil. I want this a thickness enough that if I'm using it to maybe just trace the lines through the stencil, I want a pen to fit in there, the size pen I might want. Give me enough of an outline if that's what I'm using. But I also want this thick enough if this is what's left behind so that it's not too fragile. So I've kind of just in playing around figured out it needs to maybe be thicker than what it looks good as a drawing. It's going to maybe look a little thicker than you like, but in the end, you need the thicker the better kind of. Well, you don't want it too thick, but you know, that's already better. I might want it even thicker than that. Now, I don't mind doing it too thick because sometimes the easiest way to get a nice clean line is with your eraser, to go back and kind of whittle away at it. Okay, and just keep working away. Okay, so that's pretty good for our outline of our butterfly. Now, as long as I don't want to change anything around that outer edge, I can either go ahead and do the details of it, or while it has less little sections, it's easier to do the the silhouette right now. So as long as I know I'm not going to change that outside edge, I will go here and I will duplicate this layer. And again, it's an assisted layer. So I'm just going to duplicate this. So let's rename this one. You click on the picture and you get this little menu, and I'm going to rename this outline. And this just helps to identify your different layers. So this layer, I'm going to call this, when I'm finished, I'll call this silhouette. So I can do the same thing. I can rename this one, and this is going to be my silhouette. Okay, so I have that renamed. Now what I want to do in this layer is I want to make sure I'm on that layer, and then I'm going to just take this black, drag that, and it will color drop into that area. Now I didn't do it quick enough, so let me go back. Color drop, and then see where it says continue filling? I'm going to continue filling, and now I just tap on whatever section I want, and it will turn that black. So now I have the one that's going to be the mask. So that is already done. Okay. And then I'm going to go back to my outline again, and I'm going to hide the mask. If you have these checked, all the layers are sitting right on top of each other. So I want to hide the silhouette, and actually if I want to, I can go lock that so I don't actually do anything to it. And I want to hide that one so I don't see it. Okay, now I have my outline, and I'm going to use this one to create the detail. So I need to duplicate this one again. And I'm going to go ahead and lock that so I don't accidentally do something to the one I don't want. So this one is going to be the outline that everything, when I cut it out, everything left behind is black. So I want to make sure I'm on the right layer, and I can hide that layer, and I can hide the black layer. So now I just have my butterfly and the new layer I want to work on. So let's get out of layers. So on this one, you can decide how much detail that you want to add or not. So I think I'm going to start with, I like these little black lines here. And I'm keeping in mind, again, space, the thickness of what's left behind, and the space in between the two lines. So I'm going to jump down here, make that a little thicker. And again, when you do these details, you don't have to be perfect now, because we can go back and clean them up. So I've got those, and then I want maybe these circles. And then maybe I want this line around those. And I like these little lines. And maybe I even want this black, maybe one of these or two of these. That row, maybe I do another row. And we can change it later if it's too much, because when I make these thick, I want to make sure I have good space. But let's just draw everything we might want, and then we could get rid of it if we don't. We have these two dots. And then maybe this. And then again these. And then maybe these two. Okay, so that is just kind of a rough detail. So if I click on this, I can get rid of that again. And now I have the layer I'm working on. And now I need to go clean this up like we did the outline. Okay, so we have our outline detailed layer that when it's cut out, it's going to be all the black left behind. So I want everything to be thick enough, and I'm hoping when that's reduced, it's not too small. So I'll check all this before I do kind of a final cutting, you know, just to make sure I like the thickness of all of these lines. These could maybe be a little thicker. Okay, I think I like that. Okay, so now I have my black cutout layer, and now I need to make my stencil layer. Okay, so I need to take this layer and I need to duplicate it. And I'm going to turn this one off. I'm working on the new layer, and I'm going to rename that stencil so that I know which one I'm working on. Okay, so for my stencil layer, it's assisted, so everything I do on one side is going to do to the other side. And because this one is going to be the black cut out, I need for all the white to be connected to each other, like a stencil would be. So this one doesn't look as pretty when you are looking at it, but I'm just going to start by taking some obvious things. So now this antenna, these will be cut out. And I need to do that with everything. I need to make sure that every part of white is connected to another part of white. This may be difficult here. So let's see if I do there. And all these would just fall out if I don't have them attached. So I'm going to just do a line right down the center. And now the black part will be cut out, but I need to make sure that everywhere is in a small enough part. So maybe I want to cut that out. So all this white is attached and just the black comes out. So maybe I want another line here. Do you see that? So now this part of black will be cut out and that part of black will be cut out. And I need to make some breaks here. So maybe there. So now that black is going to be cut out. I need an opening here somehow for this circle. So maybe I do this. And that means that will be cut out. And then maybe I do, so now this will be cut out. But I want this to kind of still look like a circle. And maybe I have that cut out there. So this piece will all be cut out, but that means this is going to be really floppy. So I need it to, so this piece would be cut out, that piece. When you actually draw it, you know, when you use the stencil, you can go back and fill in those parts in your artwork, but at least it gets the drawing on there. So these are kind of awkward, I think, but we're gonna just see what this looks like. So maybe I totally get rid of this line. And then so now this piece will be cut out. This piece will be cut out, this little guy and this one. That way these will be cut out. You're seeing how this is working. Okay, hopefully I was on camera for that. I forget and move my iPad. Okay, so that would be our stencil. I'm hoping I got everything. I'll do a test, you know, maybe of this one before I cut the whole sheet. But if you look, all the black is going to get knocked out. And so I need all the white to stay connected to this background. And I think I have covered it all. Some of these are kind of thin. I might want to make these a little thicker. It's kind of getting your head wrapped around backwards. Okay, we're going to call that good. And now, if I go back to my layers, I have all the things that I've done. So I have my outline, which I'm not going to cut out. I have this one, which I don't need anymore. I have my outline that has the black that's going to be cut out. So if you see, if I show that, they're all lined up and still the same size. And my stencil and my silhouette. Okay, so I want to show all of those. So those are the three that I'm going to end up wanting to cut. So now what I need to do is get them each onto their own canvas. So to do that, I'm going to start with this outline first. If I hold my pencil down, I'm selecting that. When it kind of jumps, if you see it, it kind of moves. It'll let me drag it. Don't lift your pencil. Go back to the gallery. And I'm just going to drop it here in the gallery. And it imported and it's black. But if you look at it, it's only that one layer. Okay, so I've done that black outline layer. Now I need to go back to my original one. So I am working on this one. Okay, I've done the outline. I want to do the stencil. Hold your pen down, drag it off, open the gallery, and just drop it. And there is just the stencil, just that one layer. I'm going to go back to the gallery to my one that has all the layers, and I'm going to take the silhouette layer, do the same thing, hold the pen down, drag it, and drop it in the gallery. Okay, so now I have my 3 that I want to clean up and send to my Cricut. Okay, so the first thing I need to do to this one again is I want to share it as a PNG, and I'm going to save it in my images. And I'm going to do that with each one of these. So I'm going to go back to the gallery, grab the stencil, tools, share it as a PNG, save to images. And then again to the gallery, and I'm going to grab that one that's going to come out all the black. My tools, share, PNG, and save to images. Okay, now I'm going to go out of Procreate and into Adobe Capture. And I'm going to go import image from my camera roll. And these are going to be these last 3. So I'm going to grab the first one. It's put it here. I'm going to click on that to smooth, turn the smooth on, and it's going to smooth out everything. And this is where I'll be able to see if I have maybe too thin of a line or something like that that I need to fix. Okay, that looks pretty good. So I'm going to leave that. I'm going to save it, save. And I'm going to do that to all 3 of these. Okay, I'm going to import image from my camera roll. I want to select the stencil one, do the same thing. I'm going to clean that up, smooth the lines, turn smoothing on. And again, it would show me if I had anything really strange that I need to fix. It looks fine. I'm going to hit save, save. I'm going to import the last one, same thing from the camera roll, and it's my silhouette, smoothing on. And I see I have some little white dots there. If you can see those, they're really small. So I'm going to go to refine, grab a brush. That is not a thing, that's something on but I did have 2 dots. So I've filled those in now. I can do done, smooth, on, and that's smooth. So I'm going to save that, save. Now I have all 3 of those in my library. So I'm going to grab them now. Here they are, the 3, and I'm going to share those, export as an SVG to my computer. AirDrop that to my computer. So there's one done, and I'm going to grab this 3 dots, share, export as SVG to my computer, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the other one, share, export as SVG, AirDrop to my computer. Okay, so the 3 of them are over there. Now I'll meet you at the computer and we'll finish them up in Cricut Design Space. Okay, so here we are back at the computer, and I have the 3 butterfly shapes that I'm gonna, let's see, select these 3, and I'm just gonna drag them over to my desktop, and we'll close that down. Okay, so I have one that I've already started. I'm in Cricut Design Space, and I did some practice butterfly before recording this video. So I'm going to add this second group. I'm going to click on upload image, browse, and then I'm going to find on my desktop these 3 shapes. So open this one, upload, there it is, add to canvas, and I'm going to just choose a size to start. We'll call this 4 inches and put it here. And I might as well put these 2 together. And then upload image, browse. We'll find the stencil one. Same thing, I'm just going to upload. There it is. And oh, I don't know that I like how that straight line goes through there. You know, you see some things when you are looking at it this way. Well, let's see. Add it to canvas. And again, it comes in very large. Ooh, and I see a little spot there also. Okay, we're going to make this 4 inches because I want all of these to be the same size. And on this one, I did see a little spot that I need to fix. Right here, there's a little spot that is going to be a hole. So I'm going to need to patch that. So I'm going to grab a little circle here, and we're going to reduce that to
0.125, and I'm going to pull it over here. And if I have one on this side, I will also have one on the other side. So I'm going to duplicate that and look on the other side. So I need to grab that and the butterfly, combine, unite. And then this one, of course, I moved, so I need to cover the little spot and grab the butterfly, combine, unite, and okay, and then I'm going to make him 4 inches again. And I should check this one in case I have the same problem. So see if I can get it big enough that I can see. And I don't see a little dot in this one, so I think this one is good. So we're going to go 4 inches again. Okay, and then I'll just kind of line these up. Those are pretty small. And let's grab the last one, upload image, browse, and I'm going to find the last butterfly, upload, select that one and add to canvas and reduce it to 4 inches. Okay, so now I have all of my butterflies. So let's line these up. I'm going to grab these 3 and I'm going to align them to the left. And I'm going to distribute them vertically. And then I will grab these 3, align to the left, and distribute vertically. And then move the whole thing over so that I'm trying to stay within my 8 1/4. So maybe I grab these 3 and reduce them just a tiny bit. Maybe we'll make these 3.75. so that they stay the same size. And I can do the same thing with this one. And I'm going to do 3.75 wide. And this way I will keep my butterflies within my stencil size that I want. I need to put a background on this one. So I'm going to grab a square, just like we've done for every other stencil we've made. We're going to send that to the back. I'm going to unlock it so that I can create the size that I want. And I want this to be 8.25 by 10.5. And that way it will fit in my binder. And I'm going to select all. Actually, I need to group these or this isn't going to work. So I'm going to collect all of these butterflies so that they don't move around. I'm going to attach them. And then I can select all, align to center. So that way my butterflies stayed in that group the way that I had them arranged. So then I will combine, subtract, and then it's going to really look like my stencil. So these 2 bottom ones will be cut out as one piece. These 2 will be my stencils that will be cut out of my plastic. And if I want later, I can, cut these on my guillotine. And cut them apart if I want to, or just leave them like this. So this will all be cut out, which will leave me a butterfly shaped hole that will actually be just like this one. But I wanted to go ahead and make this one so that I have a full mask. So if that makes sense, this top row and this bottom row are going to look like completely cut out butterflies. So I'll cut this one out, and then maybe in the beginning of the next video I will show you, or I might add it to the end of this video, do some playing around with these butterflies on my gel plate or something so we can kind of see how they're going to work out. So that's it. I'm going to go cut this and I will get back with you when it's finished.
Okay, so I just decided to go ahead and turn the camera back on because I've cut out my butterflies. And I haven't had this happen in a little while, but it happened today, and it's so frustrating, but I wanted to share it with you in case you try cutting with plastic like this and something goes wrong. So I haven't taken it off my mat yet, but I wanted to show you if you can see this. So this is my fine cutting blade that I was using. I've taken it out of my Cricut maker. And even though I used the strong grip, and this is why I use the strong grip for my plastic, is for really delicate little pieces. Sometimes this happens if you don't have everything stuck down really well to your mat. So if you can see this, I'm going to see if I can get it in focus. Do you see that little tiny piece of plastic stuck on the point of my blade? So sometimes when you're cutting, if a piece doesn't stick to the mat and it comes loose, and then your blade goes down and just happens to stab that little piece of plastic, now it's stuck on the end of the blade for the rest of your cutting, and it won't cut all the way through. So I'll pull this off of the mat, but you can see, I could kind of tell before I even took it off that I can see the deep cuts here, but then all of a sudden it's just barely cut through. So because this takes 3 passes, you really need all 3 passes to work well. So I'm going to just see if I can kind of pull this off. Carefully. So on my butterflies, if this one doesn't want to come off, if I kind of fold it back on itself, maybe it'll snap. Otherwise, I need my little cuticle scissors. So I'm going to set that aside for a second. And I had one little spot that didn't cut here. Sometimes you can fold it back on itself, but I'm going to just use these little cuticle scissors. Okay, so this would be my mask, piece of paper that will show so you can see it. So if you can see that, it's one of my butterflies, and the other one is stuck to my mat. So that is the other mask, and I see a little spot here. So I wanted to kind of show you, in case you have trouble, it's not unusual. I mean, sometimes things come out perfect and it comes off the mat perfectly. Sometimes it doesn't. So on this, the bottom ones that didn't completely cut out would be the lines that come up in one piece. And then this one, these pieces that are left behind, if you could see those, this is from the stencil one. So let's see what I ended up with here. I might have to clean these out a little bit too. So this one is my stencil one, and what I can do is because it cuts around the edge for my 8.5 by 11. I don't know if you can see this line. It's made my line there, but it didn't cut through because it does that at the very end. So I need to use my guillotine to cut that out. And then this, I'm probably just not even going to worry about it. I'll have to do another one because, again, it started to work on this one. This one cut a lot of the pieces. It probably took one of these little dots, and that was what was stuck to my blade. So it didn't even cut around the whole butterfly, but it was working on these inside parts. So the nice thing about doing these pieces individually on my Cricut Maker is if I don't want to waste the plastic, and because it looks like the stencils worked also, if I don't want to waste this, I can just take these 2 pieces off and, you know, cut them on this leftover part. So I might do that. I'll have to put it onto, you know, another canvas and work it that way. But it looks like it cut the most of my stencil pieces out. So I'll finish cleaning this one, get these last bits off of here, and then maybe practice it a little bit on my gel plate and see how they look. So that's it. I just wanted to show you what happens sometimes when you get something stuck on there and it doesn't cut perfectly. You probably have something on your blade, but I think these are gonna, you know, I think the stencils are gonna be nice. So these are larger, you know, if you make them too small, the little tiny pieces become so small that sometimes those don't work. Those fine details don't work as well on our handmade stencils, at least with the plastic, but maybe with cardstock or something, I'll have to try that. So that's it for this share today. I know this video went quite long, but I wanted to kind of show you how you can make anything for drawing assist stencils. So I hope you enjoyed it. Give me a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe if you haven't already, and have a great rest of your day. Now go make something. Bye.